Are you believer?
He's on, nigga dog. He's on. Okay, you ready?
It's all fun and games until one actually sees it.
Okay. Chapter 4, guys. This is the last introduction chapter. Next chapter, we're actually building the game. And but I looked at chapter 5 to see your code thing, and it works fine. So.
It's the last for sure then.
Yeah, it must. Well, maybe I'll send it. Maybe we'll see. I'll send you my code.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Note a correction. There's a correction I made for another thing. A .java file can contain multiple classes. Okay. You hear this?
Come on.
A Java file can contain multiple classes. However, when compiled, it results in one class file per class. Everyone got that?
Oh yeah, I did that, by the way.
Java file
Check this out. I did it in the method class. I did a reference to I think a dog or something like that, and I compiled the larger one, and it compiled both of them.
Okay, there's something else though.
Because one called another one, and it compiled both of them.
That's probably true as well.
You can have that. I didn't know that.
But this is something else. This is that in one file you can put multiple classes.
What do you mean one file?
Watch.
Actual physical file?
Yeah. So let's,
okay.
So let's look over here. This is a
That's what we need to do this full time.
no class. There's two classes over here in one file. But look what happens. Okay. So let's look at this folder. Here's chapter 4. Chapter 4. So let's delete all the classes. Let's do it by type and get rid of all these classes. Okay. Watch what happens. So this has two classes. When I compile it, okay, what's it called? Yeah, okay. So when I compile it, look what happens. Okay, compiled, and look over here. There's two classes. So even though there's one file with two classes in it, when it goes down to the .class file, it makes two of them. So that's how Java works. In other words, yes, there's only one class per file, but that's only in the compiled level. In your source code, you can have it all in one script if you want.
But it said something in your CMD that was different. What did it say?
What's that?
No, it's just all the folders.
Oh, it opened up. I didn't realize how many folders there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now let's start chapter 4. That's the thing. Okay. State affects behavior. Behavior affects state. Okay. So a simple example. Say you have a dog, which we're going to do an example right now. So say a dog is, a 7-foot dog, right? When it barks, it's not going to sound like a little chihuahua. In other words, the size of the dog definitely is going to make a different change in the bark. Okay, so we see here that the state, which is the instant variables, right? The state is another word for instant variables, and behavior is another word for methods, right? This idea of state and behavior, by the way, is how you have to think when you start making programs now.
What?
State and behavior is how you have to think when you're making programs. That's object-oriented orientation. To think in, here's a person, what state is he in? Is he happy at now? Is he big? Is he small? And then since he's in that behavior, how does he behave? If a person, just got punched in the face, so his state right now is angry. When he acts now, he's going to do angry things.
What it is and what it does.
Right. Right? The instant variables and the methods.
So,
okay.
Wait. So let's say you're talking about like a program like Minecraft, let's say. You have to put in all the things that the character that you play as, let's say, what it does. Like all of those things.
Yeah, and it's state. If you punch him, now he's angry. So now you put a whole other class, another program, another method.
All the ones that you want to happen.
If angry, then method X. If not angry, method this.
No, I'm not talking about angry or not. Like it's state, like it's something like. What do you mean by
everything?
State?
Well, you'll see later on, but everything you want to use in the system.
So let's say it's holding the sword now, like during the action of person.
So you have has sword, yes, and probably where the sword is and all that stuff will be also in there. It can get complicated. Okay. Every instance of a particular class has the same methods, right? The methods can behave differently based on the value of the instance variables. Like I said before, the bark. If you have a method that says scream out whatever it is, that code of the method will never change. You can't change the method for each object, but that method can do different things depending on what the state is. So example over here, we go to assume. Here's bark. All dogs are going to have the same bark method. But look what happens. If the size of the dog is more than 60, it does woof. If it's more than 40, it does rough. And if not, it does yip yip.
So it can change it.
Right. The method is the same exact method for each object that you create. But since each object can have different instant variables, you can set it differently. 1, 6,
We
20.
just learned something else. So it's if, else, if, and else. So basically, the last one's called else, and everything before that's called else, if.
No,
Yeah.
else is just giving like, you know, an ultimatum and then you have another if loop.
Right, but then the last one doesn't say else, if. It's just, oh, I see what
So
you're
it's
saying.
else because you don't have to have another if.
Okay. Okay. Going back. Okay, so. Okay, next thing you can pass values into your method. Okay? You can pass values into your method. So for example over here, we have over here set size. Okay?
You can pass
Values into the method. So the set size sets the size to whatever it's going to call. So see over here, it says dog 1 set size to 70. That's passing a value into this method.
Okay, so it says remove.
Okay?
And
So
what
instead
you-
of saying instead of 1 dot set size equals 78, it's just within parentheses to make it 70.
So it calls the set size, which passes it int, and then it goes set size, which is this, to this s.
So what is the return size? What do you mean?
This get size?
No, this is the return, not the get.
Over here?
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Right now we're doing the idea of passing values into a method. Okay?
Set size.
So look at this. Let's focus on this for a second.
Is there
Okay.
another class that gives that? Is there another class that says size, return, size, and all that stuff?
No, size is over here. Size is an instant variable.
Oh.
Okay? So over here we have a method that's public. Everyone can use it. It's void, which means it doesn't return anything. What does it do? It takes an integer called s, in other words, a variable s, which is an integer, and sets the size, which is the instance variable, to that s. Okay, which you see over here, set size 70. 70 gets popped into here, and then it sets size to 70. Okay. Okay, just one of the, this is a language thing you have to know. This is called a parameter. Okay. When you actually pass something to it, it's called an argument. So that the parameter is s, and the argument is 70 over here, and over here it's 45, and over here it's 8.
Right.
Just you know that lingo. That's how programmers speak. Argument is the actual value you pass into the parameter. Okay, so the parameter is always called s, but the argument over here is 70 and 45.
You're
and 8.
making a parameter, you're creating an argument.
The parameter is defined at the method level. The argument is what you actually do. What are you actually passing into it?
You know this is my juice. That was very good.
But you know, you didn't. What do you mean the private int, public int,
What?
or public void? You need to make less of why it
You
is.
know this is
We're going to get to these. Right now, we're focusing on this line.
Huh? Okay.
Okay? Public means anyone can use
Yeah,
it.
I know, but
Void means it doesn't return anything.
okay.
Okay? Okay, next line. A parameter is nothing more than a local variable. Okay? So remember, local variables are not in the object. Right? So when I have a dog doesn't have this s in there. Okay? S over here gets used in the method and is gone. Local variables are not in the object. They're just used while you're using the program, but they're not stored inside the object itself. It's just used on the object. Okay? Okay, so look at this picture. Okay, so here's it's different than the code I've written. So here's a method called bark, which takes an integer that's called, the parameter is called num of barks. Number of barks we're going to do.
Wait, what's the parameter again? Instance variable?
No, local variable.
Local variable.
Instance variables are stuff that gets in the object itself, like
Right.
Mendel's eye color is an instance variable. Local variables are stuff we use at runtime to do something. They're not actually.
The x is a local variable?
Can I hear you?
The x.
Which x?
Any x. Generally, we need to get x. That's a local variable?
Usually it's a local variable, because that usually you're just using for a little moment and then getting rid of it. Instance variables, you have to be careful with the naming because it's, eye color.
X is
hair
in
color.
memory, basically, and the rest is in...
They're all in memory, but one's stored in the object itself in memory.
Okay.
Part of the object. In other words, Mendel eye color is whatever, brown. But the X that's gone. You run the method, it barks a couple times and shoots out this number of barks. Okay, so let's look over here. Dog D equals new dog. Then we bark 3. What does that 3 do? So the 3 gets dropped into here. While 3 is more than 0, it does this loop. Okay? So you see what happens?
We grew up 3 times.
I bark 3 times. Yeah, bark 3 times. Okay?
Why
So-
is lower barks minus 1? Because it's 3.
Yeah, so 3, then 2, then 1, then 0 is not more than 0, and that's it. So don't do anything more. Okay? So we have to notice over here, number 1 is that 3 has to be an integer. Right? You can't pass into something that's not an integer, because the parameter only accepts integers. If you try, the compiler will not let you do that. Okay? And this is a local variable. This is not part of the dog. The dog doesn't have number of barks to do. That depends on what you tell it to do. Right? The dog only has whatever it is. Its name and its size, whatever. Okay? Let's move on. Methods can return values. Okay? Every method is declared with a return type. A void return type means they don't give anything back. So let's look over here. Here is a method that's called getSize. Notice over here, this void over here is int.
What?
This says I'm returning integer. This says I'm not returning anything.
Yeah.
And that's why this one has a return statement, and this one doesn't have any return statement.
So return side.
Return is what- One more time.
Where you returning?
When you call it, for example, you see where it says getSize?
Yeah.
It returns it to this print line. So it'll say dog1. Let's run the program so you see right now what it does. If I run it. No. Yes, that's it. Okay. There you go. Okay. So you see it says dog 170. So the get size is getting that 70. In other words, it's returning 70. It's returning the size. So this over here, that's how you tell the method that you're returning something. In other words, right before the method, you say what I'm returning. Void means nothing. Integer, I'm returning an integer, and then therefore I'm going to return. I have to press return something.
So the get and return to the code up there, the size.
Yes. And you ask why? Why not just do, one dot size, right? We'll see soon why you don't do that.
Why can't you do set size equals get size?
Well, there won't be any get size when you start off.
Right, there's like set size equals, so once you have set size, it equals get size. Get size is 0, and you set size equals get size, or you do get size equals set size.
That's also a command.
Right, but it's a command, but can you technically do get size?
You can do whatever you
equals
want,
size?
but over here wouldn't make any sense because you're setting the size to 20. Get size just returns whatever it is.
I'm just trying to reduce the amount of lines you have to write.
No, you'll see soon. Setters and getters are going to be needed for every single class you ever write.
So basically, you set aside 70, it's send it to the good dog, check if it's over 60, and send it back to the print. Yeah?
One time, say it again.
When you set up the set size 70, when you write the code.
Set size just sets the size.
Yeah, no, up there. I'm talking up.
Over here.
70. See where you put set size 70? Up, 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 up.
Yeah.
Okay, you type this code right now.
All it does is go to here and set it to 70. That's all it does.
Okay, but
No,
now,
and then it gets get size.
and then you know of the void bark.
That's
If
only
it's over
that's
70.
that's only later on when you actually run bark. That's a method.
Okay, so
Set size. All set size does is run this. That's all it does. This bark doesn't get run until I call bark.
And return is an actual command?
Yeah.
So it's an actual lingo of
Yes,
Yeah.
you can't call anything return. That's one of the keywords.
and void.
Void in public and int in class and else.
No, I know. So I'm saying in this situation, our return size is going to return the size that equals s.
Right, 100%. Okay, but it doesn't have to equal s right
Could I
away.
just write int s?
what is equal this again?
Can you?
Could I technically write int s?
Over here, just call it s. You probably could, but that'd be pretty.
And then knock out the rest of it and just have already int s instead of size equals s, or you have s, or I have to write s equals s.
It would probably get it's probably not a good idea to do that because you have over here s is a local variable, and over here s is an instance variable. So you probably cause confusion.
Because it's an instance variable, it's right. Instance means numbers.
Instance variable means it's part of the
Right,
object,
part of the object, right? Because it's 70s.
right? This int over here is not. This int over here is a local variable that gets dropped.
Right.
Okay. So we'll see soon why we're doing this get size and set size. Like why not? Why not just do like we used to do and do dog that size equals 70? Why did you do this set size and get size? We'll see soon. It's a very important concept.
There and steady there.
Right? We never did this before. Usually we just do, one dot size equals that, and that's it. And then you want to get it back, do one dot size to get it back to. Why do you need to do this getter and setter? We'll see soon. These are called getters, and these are called setters.
So sad that we realized that.
That what?
That question. Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go down. Okay. Okay, so again, whatever you declare the method to return, you better return that. Okay? Everyone got that?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you declare that you're returning, you better return. So for example, over here, I'm doing get size, and I'm returning an integer. This size better be an integer. So if I go over here and I change this to a string, it won't compile. Because I'm saying I'm returning an integer, and I'm returning size, which is a string. So it'll fail. Compile will say you can't do that. You promised an integer, you better return an integer. Over here, size happens to be an integer, so the compile will say that's
what if I
fine.
wanted a string?
Then you have to change it over here to be string.
Is there a use string or wouldn't use string in this situation?
Okay?
Would we ever use string in this situation?
For size, probably
Not
not.
for size, for something else. What about something else? We're gonna use size.
Yeah,
I
and
want
use string
size,
for the
I want
name.
its color.
Color, your string.
So I would just write private. I would write private string. What do you call it? Color.
Right.
And then public.
Yeah.
String get size.
Get color.
Get color. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Getters and setters we always use for now going forward.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so we did this picture we did already. Okay, this is just to show it one more time. So here we have integer, the secret. Okay, and we're doing it equals a life that gives secret. Here is the actual method. Is returning 42. So if you notice, 42 is an integer, and therefore it can land inside this bucket called the secret, which is an integer as well. In other words, they all had to be the same thing, otherwise you're going to have issues.
On the chapter 4, the teacher wanted me to return the toilet.
Returns that's all it is. It's that simple.
Yeah, but it's the other there. What is?
Yeah. Returning just returns something back to whatever it's calling it.
Where is return?
Over here, look. Into this command, print line dog 1. It's returning the size right into this line. So if you look over here, it's returning that 70 into that line.
Okay. So why not? Can you go back? Yeah. Why not go into system and print the one? Like why not just put? Why not just add? Okay, never mind.
But what? Tell me. Why don't you do one dot size?
No, what I know it's the return. The 70 minutes. It has to go back to the good dog because they need to know what size is it. If it's too far, or lower than that. Yeah.
It's over here, but it's getting the size over here.
Yeah, but there's a reason why you need to.
Don't worry about the reason. Right now we're just looking why the code works. This you can take this out for now. Ignore it. The point is that get size returns get size into here.
Okay.
If I just made a thing that, that says public void get size and an equal size, it would mean nothing. It would never come back here.
And is it smart for me to write it like this as opposed to write it in two different ones?
What do you mean?
Is it better for me to write it in two or one?
What do you mean 2 or 1? What do you mean?
When, because in this situation it would seem like I would want to.
Over here it's fine, small.
What you would do?
It depends on the size. This is fine because it's a small file. But it gets big files, it's easier to focus when we open one file into this one.
Well, but my question is, even in huge files, if one file is, let's say,
In general, we want to keep the file as small as possible. Easier to focus in the lane.
Right, then you might have 1,000 files.
Yeah. But usually each file is supposed to be standalone. Okay, focus it. Good, works fine.
So for one game, for like that for one actual game, I can technically do it in one file, like a couple files.
Well, at the end of the day, when you make a game to be sold, anyways, it compiles to a lower level that has packages in one file. So don't worry about that.
A mega file though, not.
Yeah, I'm just saying.